Uh-huh. Yeah, another one. How you conversation? You know we back at it, big baby. You know what I'm saying? Let me get one of my partners in here. What's up, my peoples, man? You know we doing another carry conversation. You know, just trying to keep it lit. You dig? Hey, there he is.
What's good? What's good?
What's up with my family, man? What you doing, champ?
Man, doing well, man. Just getting ready for this Labor Day weekend, man. Getting ready for the campaign kickoff and whatnot.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about it, man. So when does the campaign kick off? When does it start?
So, we're running right now.
Okay,
Um, we're in the process right now. So I think the big thing is, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
okay.
So we have about, 13, 14 months left until November 2024
Hmm.
when the actual voting happens. So right now is name recognition, getting out, door knocking, and then also fundraising is what we're doing right now.
Okay, okay. Um, how can we? Where do we tap in to help with the fundraising if people want to try to help?
Man, the easiest place to tap in is ej4sf.com, and I'll drop that in the comments real quick for you.
Okay, all right.
Um, that's the easiest place. That's pretty much the central location for all of the information. Um, that's the central location if you want to sign up to volunteer, if you want to donate, whatever it may be. ej4sf.com.
Okay. So, man, thank you so much for taking out your time, good brother, man. I appreciate you, man. I know you're busy. I know you're trying to do something real beautiful. You know what I mean, for the community, something real big. You know what I mean, bro. When I seen you first announce your candidacy, um, first of all, I've never even heard of the seat. You know what I mean? To be truthful,
Yeah,
living in Lakeview all these years, and when I saw that you were stepping up to run for it, it made me feel very proud. You know what I mean, bro? Somebody that I know, somebody that's familiar, somebody that I grew up with, and somebody that I know has good intentions for our neighborhood because they know, how much we've been through as a community and how far we've come.
100%. I could say the same thing about you. I love how you using your platform. I love how you reaching the people. And I get excited every time because uh, I remember back at St. Emilius.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was a little bit younger than you, but I remember you were the dude that, at least in our class, we aspired to be like you. So, I'm excited to be here today and just be on your platform and just share this moment with you.
I appreciate you, my brother. Yeah, we come a long way, and I think Saint Immediate was a testament to how our parents were trying to mold us and set us on these great journeys. You know what I mean, and give us the tools that we needed, so that when we came into these spaces, we not only could rely on a certain group of individuals who had the same journey, but also so we knew what to do when it was time to step up, when it was time when our number was called. You know what I mean, my brother?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the beginning. So my family came from Texas. I know a little bit about their journey to San Francisco. Talk about your family's history in relation to San Francisco and how they came to the city.
Yeah. So, on my mom's side of the family, my grandmother came here first. She came from Louisiana, Winsboro,
Mm,
Louisiana, and she came out during the 30s,
hmm,
during World War II, like most people, to work in the shipyard.
hmm,
And as I recall the story, I think she said that uh, she moved out here for the higher wages.
mm,
Um, and at the time, I believe she was making like $14 a week or something like that.
mm,
And that's wild, but she was making $14 a week, sending some back home to her mother
mm,
back in Louisiana. Um, and then, you know, over time, she eventually sent for her mother to move out here. And so, as a result of that, on my mom's side, my great grandmother bought her first house on Bright Street.
Mm.
So right in Lakeview. And I still have family that live in that house right now.
Mhm.
And then on my dad's side, he was in the military. He came out after the Vietnam War
Mhm.
and moved out here. But I say all that to say this: my great grandmother lived in Lakeview. My
Mm.
grandmother lived in Lakeview. My mom lived in Lakeview. And now here I am. So really four generations
Mm.
of family that has lived here. So I'm just really excited to be able to bring that journey and that story with me as I take on these next endeavors.
What are some of your earliest memories, like growing up in Lakeview?
Man, early memories. Obviously playing outside, football in the middle of the street on Lobus Street.
Yeah.
That was like early memories. Always riding bikes
Yeah.
through the neighborhood. I always think back, and somebody touched on this the other day during one of the community cleanups that we had. But someone talked about Mr. Reno and
Yeah.
how we used to go on the Great America trips
Yeah.
and maybe not even Great America at that time. It might have been Marine World
Right. Okay. Yeah.
back in the day. Yeah, it might have been Marine World back in the day. But someone reminded me of that and block parties. But I think when I think about the neighborhood and growing up, everybody felt like family,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
You went to everybody's house. You played outside. It was a real community oriented neighborhood, and despite all the other things that may have been going on
Right.
around us at times, it was still home and it was still family. So that, and I carry that with me still.
That's definitely dope. Um, how would you describe your childhood? Like if you had to describe it to someone who didn't know you or who asked you.
I mean, I I think I had a really good childhood. I had my parents were very active and involved. And not just my parents, my grandparents,
Yeah.
my aunts, my uncles, everybody was truly committed to making sure that not just me, but all of the members of the family had the best opportunities. And so, I think my childhood was one of love and nurturing. Um, and I think I was instilled with hard work and values.
Hmm.
We weren't rich by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination,
Right.
but uh, but we always were taught to work for the things that we want. Um, and I think that's something that comes from one, my grandmother moving out here to work, and
Hmm.
then the struggle of people in the South moving to San Francisco looking for more opportunity,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
I think we have to always acknowledge that. Um, and so, in a lot of ways, San Francisco's Black community isn't too much different than the immigrant community,
Right.
because folks moved here with the intention of trying to achieve the American dream.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's very poignant that you said that, bro, because I think a lot of people don't understand the actual story of the Black San Franciscan and the migration and what it took for them to get here. I think, the shell of it, we know that they came to the shipyards, but like you said, our parents came here first and left their parents and then sent back for their parents to come.
Hmm.
My grandparents did the same thing. My grandfather
Yeah.
came and then he sent back for his mother and father, and then they came and to create that opportunity. And even the step from coming from just working in the shipyards to being in the projects or wherever they were to making that step to say, I want to move my family to Lakeview. Um,
Yeah.
I was reading something about the first black family that moved to the Ingleside district and how it was around the time where the discrimination with the real estate and they weren't letting black folks buy homes and stuff like that. And the first
Hmm.
family that moved to Ingleside, he was in politics as well, and they set set a fire to it, set a cross on fire on his in his driveway or in his front yard or whatever. So just to think of the rich history and what it took for our people to get here, and to see you stand in this position, is standing on the heels of all that hard work, and that's what makes it even more beautiful than anything. You know what I mean, bro? And I think sometimes our people don't get to hear that story enough, and I think our kids need to know that, so to know how rich they are and how much they come from. You know what I mean, bro?
And listen, it's wild that you brought that up because I literally read that story last Thursday,
Mm.
and I had not even read that story before. I saw it in a brochure last Thursday at a neighbor's meeting. Somebody was handing out a brochure with the history of the Ingleside, and I saw that. So that was an eye-opening experience for me. Um, but even to piggyback on that, when my family first came here, they stayed in Bakery,
Right,
right?
right,
And then in Fillmore, and then from there, once they were able to move into to Lakeview, first they were on Faxon, and eventually they moved over to Lovis. But yeah, we weren't always welcome here either.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what schools did you go to? Of course, I know some of the schools you went to, but talk about your education.
Yeah, so I started off at St. Emilius.
Mm,
From St. Emilius, I went to SI,
mm,
St. Ignatius. I went on to play basketball at Dominican University.
okay.
Um, and then from there, I started working, and just regular jobs. And then I was like, man, I want a little bit. I want to get that bigger paycheck.
Mm,
I want to do some other things. So I went back to school and got a master's from the University of San Francisco.
mm.
Later, that was a few 5 or 6 years after I had finished undergrad, but I went back and did
And got it. How did your parents feel
it.
about that when you went back?
I think they were really excited. I think my mom was really excited to see it, and then obviously they said, "Well, are you gonna go back and get another one? Are you gonna go back and get another one?"
Yeah.
I think the big question on that was who was gonna pay for
Right.
that.
So how do you get into public service, bro? How does that come into your life?
So it's actually a real funny story of how I got into public service. My both of my parents, my mom was a preschool teacher for SFUSD,
Mm,
and my dad worked for Muni.
mm,
Both of them held those careers for 30 years, right? 30 plus years. And out of college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I always thought that I was going to open a barbershop, um,
mm.
and just have a place for community and event space, and throw parties and
Yeah.
have fun, and be a multi-millionaire and be Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
Um, so I took a job, kind of just being a clerk, pushing paper at SFUSD for a little bit. Um, and one of the roles of the job was you would intake folks when they would come with complaints about the school.
Okay.
And oftentimes people would come with, you know, complaints that I thought were valid, right?
Hmm.
Um, but within the letter of the law of what the school district was supposed to provide, or what was written in the code, they didn't have a bona fide complaint. And
Okay.
so you would send a lot of people back saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, this doesn't fit within the guidelines of what the uniform complaint spells out."
Okay.
Right?
Hmm.
And so that was the first time that I realized that government didn't always serve everybody,
Right.
right? Um, and around that time, a friend and and I'm gonna be really straightforward. We would go out, we would hang out, party, and as a way of putting some good karma back into the universe,
Yeah.
we would wake up the next morning and say, "All right, we're gonna take these meals, and we're gonna make sure that some of the folks who are less fortunate have an opportunity to get some food." So we would take whatever we had in the cupboard, whatever peanut butter jelly, make some sandwiches, whatever we had, and we would take it out. um, and it grew into kind of this bigger experience where folks kind of started coming out. My boy Cayenne, he started taking he took it to the next level, and it's the City Eats, and he does like 1,500 meals every month. So that was my first introduction into the nonprofit world,
Okay.
right? And from there, I knew that I wanted to do something that helped folks around me, as my work, day to day life. So from there, I ended up taking a job at the Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center.
Mm.
And what I did there was I was in charge of the RAD process. And the RAD process is what they basically just did at the buildings on 200 Randolph, is
Okay.
the remodel, the update, where this nonprofit entity buys back property from the city, and they become the owners, and
Okay.
they become the managers of the building, and they're supposed to create a better quality of life for the residents of that building. And so I worked on Alamany, Holly Court, um, Bernal Gateway, a few projects, and that's where I learned about affordable housing development,
Okay.
and that blew my mind. Right, I never I never knew that there were people that were building affordable housing. They were getting subsidies from the government, and this was a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was also my first introduction to City Hall, because I learned that you have to work with uh, the mayor's office, with the supervisors, with different city departments to be able to even make these things work and get the funding. And it really intrigued me.
Okay.
So, I dove deeper into it, and I started out just doing services at a really low level in the nonprofit. And over time, and as I expanded my knowledge and I learned a little bit, I got promoted to the director of housing,
Mm.
um, there. Then the pandemic hits
Okay.
in 2020, after a few years of me doing that. And while I had done a lot of community work all throughout San Francisco, it really brought me back home, like to Lakeview,
Yeah.
because I was already involved with the IT Bookman Community Center, formerly the OMI, and
Mm.
it's been a ton of names
Yeah.
throughout our history. Um, I was involved with the community center, and I sat on their board, and I did a lot of work there. But the seniors were vulnerable at that time.
Mm.
They were scared to come out. They didn't have food. There was no testing at that time. So I had just met the current supervisor, Asha,
Mm-hmm.
at that time. So I just reached out. I was like, man, we as a community, we need resources. We need a place for, the seniors to be able to go and get tested safely. And we used the St. Michael's parking lot to open up the OMI testing hub,
Okay.
which then became, a food bank. It became all these things during the pandemic. It was
Mm.
a place of mobilization and action. And I say all that to say this: I really, all of this happened by accident.
Right.
This wasn't something I planned that I planned out. From that, people noticed the collaboration and the ability to organize folks,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually they just asked me, like, would you be interested in working in City Hall? And at first, it wasn't even something that I wanted to do. It
Yeah.
wasn't something that I considered.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy. I was happy. I was learning affordable housing development, and that, I thought that I was going to do that for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I also sat back and, I talked to the people around me, talked to community, and I realized there was a really big opportunity because we hadn't had someone from community in those offices before,
Right.
right? And so to be able to see the other side of the game, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
It 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 was intriguing to me. So I went to I worked for Asha for a couple years, and kind of got to see how things move, how things work.
Right.
Um, and for the first time, that's that's when I realized that representation matters in these offices,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Having access to your public official is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to call them when you have an issue, being able to call them when there's a community concern, it opened my eyes to all of that. Because like you, I did, prior to meeting Asha in 2020, I really didn't understand what the supervisor was doing,
Right,
right?
right.
I knew it was a figurehead. I knew they were elected official, but I didn't really understand what it was that they did on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So that's how I got there. It was, I think somebody just said it in the chat. It wasn't by accident. It was all timing, and it was on God's timing.
Speaking of what the supervisor does, what does the supervisor do, in your opinion, or
Uh,
description wise, or
so I mean, at a very very high level, they're supposed to represent the people of their district, of their community.
mm-hmm.
The things that they have the power to do, they have unlimited power of inquiry. They can
Okay.
go to any city department at any time and say, "Hey, where are you putting these funds? I request a hearing."
Mm.
Um, they have the ability to advocate for certain projects within the district.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, right now, a project, and this isn't necessarily from the supervisor's office, but a project that's being advocated for right now is a new library.
Mm.
I don't know if you know this, but our district and our community has the largest number of school age children and families, right?
Mm.
And we have the two smallest libraries in the entire city.
Okay.
And so there's been a space carved out at the bottom of Orizaba. It's that empty patch of land,
Mm-hmm.
Orizaba near Sagamore.
Yeah.
So there was a space carved out, and they just been the city's been dragging its feet on it.
Okay.
So the supervisor gets to push on projects like that,
Mm.
and then they also just get to advocate for how money is put into the budget. They can't say it's going to go specifically to this organization, but they can say, okay, we need to put money in the budget specifically for seniors, or specifically for youth programs, or specifically for um, workforce development and job training, those sorts of things.
Mm.
So, or affordable housing projects. And so those are some of the things. And then last but not least, they get to legislate. So we get to write some of the laws,
Okay.
um, and create new legislation that can go out.
Okay. How do you think we can create, aside from the library, more resources and more opportunities for the young people in our community? Because we all know that free time on their hands, idle time is the easiest way to get in trouble. You know what I mean? And we have, like you said, the biggest youth population and youth families. How do we create more resources, more opportunities, more things to keep them not only busy but productive?
Right. I think the biggest part of it is showing up, right?
Okay.
I think a lot of times, and I'm gonna speak specifically for us as a people, um, when the conversations are happening, we miss our opportunity to be at the table.
Mm.
And I know we're busy. I know we have a lot of things going on, right? But I think we have to make sure that when there's community meetings, we're showing up to speak our piece.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that when there's meetings at City Hall around the budget,
Yeah.
we're showing up and
Mm.
having that public comment um, around those discussions. One of the biggest things that blew my mind during my time in the supervisor's office was when the budget is being created, there are people from all different organizations. There's people from the climate change. There's people from the disability community. There's people from
Mm.
the LGBTQ community, and they stay there. They will not leave. They will sit in the hallway in front of the supervisor's door, banging, making sure that their voices is heard. Like, you're not going to cut me out of this budget because I'm sitting right here. And we just have to have that same level of engagement
Mm.
when it comes to those things. And then, I think from our standpoint, making sure that once the resources are put in, that
Mm.
we're taking advantage of them. A lot of times, the money gets put in, and then folks don't show up when it's time to claim what's been set aside for us. So those are two pieces. But I'm big on investment into youth programs. I was a youth basketball coach for a long time. I coach high school basketball. Um, and we do have some good after school programs in our community, but we don't have enough at all.
Okay. I know the reason I asked that. I know that, of course, the population has changed, the demographics have probably changed, but for my age group and my friends, Ocean View Park, OMI, even the programs at State, they were a big part of our summers, a big part of keeping us out of trouble when they did. You know what I mean? We needed those a lot, and it helped us also create more of a sense of community. You know what I mean? To know who was who, to interact with each other. It was just, I think it just built the morale in the community, and for sure kept us out of a lot of trouble. So, you know,
Yeah, and so right now, I can just think off the top of my head, like there's a couple youth programs that I think are doing good for our community.
mm,
Youth First is operating out of Bixby Park.
okay,
Um, they call it Merced Heights Playground
yeah,
now, but it's always gonna be Bixby.
Bixby there.
Um, exactly. And during the summer and after school, they have a van. They pick up the kids from school. They take them there. They do homework help. They do field trips, extracurricular activities. Teach the kids how to skateboard, karate, all those things
Mhm.
right there at the park. So
Okay,
so shout out to them. And then Ocean View is still active.
yeah,
They still have a lot of programs. Um, but Ocean View has changed,
right,
right?
right,
I saw Dewan in here earlier
yeah,
uh, in the chat, and I take my hat off to him when it comes to programs because he was out early in the morning,
yeah,
getting people in shape,
yeah,
working hard, and that's the level of participation that we have to have.
right,
And when it goes back to, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but when we talk about these programs, sometimes you just have to build it,
right,
right?
right.
Build it first,
Hmm.
and then after you build it, people will take notice.
Right.
And I definitely saw him out there. I still see him out there, and my hats off to him and everybody that's doing the work in the neighborhood.
That's what's up, man. Did you have a mentor or mentors in this space since you have taken it on and since it has created, became a bigger part of your life?
You know, I I think it's important to say I try to learn something from everybody,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But just in terms of people that have actually just like taken me under their wing, people that have given me some guidance. Shaman has been really instrumental
Mm,
in kind of leaving, and he's the first Black board president of the board of supervisors. He was instrumental in giving me some of the knowledge that
mm,
I needed to get through. Obviously, Asha, I worked for him for 2 years, so you can't work for somebody for 2 years and not
right.
not leave with something. But I say all this to say, and you look you look at how other people have navigated the space. Obviously, the Willie Browns and the Amos Browns of the world. You look at how they navigated the space, and while I at this moment I don't necessarily have like a super tight relationship with them,
Mm,
or uh, but it'll grow.
right.
But you look at how those people navigate, and you model how your work after that.
Talk to me about SF Black Wall Street.
Okay, man. That's at Black Wall Street, and listen, I'm gonna be the first to say this. I'm not an original founding member of SF Black Wall Street, so
Mhm.
my hats go off to Jafria. I just saw my little cousin join. My hats off to Jafria, Tiffany, Gwen Brown, Tanish, Tamara, Kenya Bodie. I feel like I might be missing somebody, Mo, but all of those ladies, they started something that was powerful, and it was all started and centered around Black folks needing Black space,
Mm,
right? Us needing a space that we can do us and be us. And it all started because someone was weaponizing a government system, the 311 system, to call in complaints because folks were just having a good time at Cafe Envy,
mm,
right? And so, because of that and out of that, they were able to um, do Juneteenth. They grew into a group that became the voice of a lot of the black community.
Mm.
And I was added on. I was kind of like the little brother that was there.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching. I was watching, and if they needed me to do something, I would do it. Um, and then just because of the diligence and showing up and just being there, um, they brought me into the fold. So I'm forever appreciative of the work that they do, because they are truly there to try to empower Black San Francisco. And then beyond that, I think one of the messages that's different than a lot of the other organizations that
Mm-hmm.
are out here is we are not just trying to help you. We want you to build wealth.
Damn.
We want you to do better. We want you to own homes. We want you to have cars. We want you to have property investments all the way down. And so um, I think that's a really powerful message too, because that's not something that you typically hear from a nonprofit organization.
Right.
Typically, from the nonprofit organization, it'd say, "Hey, come get your resources, and then come back and get more
Right.
resources."
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
This is, come get your resources. We're gonna build you up, and then eventually you're not gonna need us. But in that process, make sure you bring somebody else along. So, like I said, hats off to them. I'm not gonna claim that. I'm not gonna claim that I was the founder. I'm just a very small piece in what they have going on, and it's really a truly beautiful thing.
Talk to me about the reparation the reparations that they're talking about and what you think about it.
Man, reparations. I think so. First and foremost, I think the press did an interesting number with the reparations.
Okay.
Uh, they initially came out and it was just like everyone is going to get 5 mil. It's happening. Get excited, right? And and everyone went crazy, right? Because the idea, like, let's be real. There are reparations that are owed,
Right.
right?
Right.
Let's just start there. Um, Now, whether that comes from a federal level, from a state level, or from a local government, that's to be decided. San Francisco has always been on the forefront, on the cutting edge of what should what should be modeled across the nation. So I think it's interesting, but also important that San Francisco took up the space and the resources to be able to open this conversation about reparations.
Mm.
I think like a lot of people, my biggest question is, where is the money going to come from?
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So does it come from another tax, right? An extended tax on some type of goods or services? Does it come from the general fund? How are we going to get this money? And beyond that, there are over 100 recommendations. The $5 million was one
Right.
of the recommendations, right?
Right.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tiff came on and talked a little bit about it maybe some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But but one of the recommendations is opening a HBCU here in San Francisco,
Yeah.
right? And um, another recommendation is the possibility of some type of tax waiver or tax break.
Mm.
Another recommendation that I saw, or that I can pull off the top of my head, is um, making college tuition more affordable for Black San Franciscans.
Mm.
Home ownership a priority for Black San Franciscans. Um, so there are a lot of recommendations. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg. I know that there's a rally coming up. I think, I don't want to give wrong information. It's on the SF Reparations Instagram, but I think it's September 19th,
Okay.
and it's on the steps of City Hall, because that is when the new proposal will be presented.
Mm.
So it's important, for us to stay engaged. I think we're still some way away from the end,
Of course.
but I think it's important for us to stay engaged, to stay active, and to follow it. But like I said, I think we do deserve reparations at some level.
Mm.
I just don't know what level it's going to come from at this time.
As a city, I live outside the city, and we just we see a lot of different media about our city, a lot of different bad things. What are some of the biggest problems that you think we're facing right now as a city?
Man, it's we have a lot of problems in our city, but I don't think that they're problems that we haven't faced
Mm,
it before, right? San Francisco is a city that constantly reinvents itself.
okay.
So as we watch the media, as we watch our Instagrams, our Facebooks,
Right.
we see people property crime. We see people stealing. We see people bipping. We see people looting, right? And so accountability, I
Mhm.
think, is one portion of this. And the reason I say that, and I understand property, it's property, right?
Yeah.
It's things with monetary value, but it gives an excuse for a business to leave our communities,
Mm,
right? And how that adversely affects us is now grandma has to go across town to get her medicine.
mm,
Now, when it's time to buy diapers, when it's time to get food for your baby, you have to go outside of your community
mm,
to go get the things that you need. So it changes the quality of life and your experience within the city.
mm.
So, I think having accountability around those things is really important. Um, but we also need to address the vacant storefronts, the empty businesses,
Mm.
right? That that's a huge issue here in San Francisco. Um, and personally, I think the only way to bring it back is to bring the culture back,
There you go.
right?
Right.
We have to have more activation of our commercial corridors,
Mm.
whether that's by having cultural festivals, music, whatever it is. But we have to bring people back to San Francisco. Um, I had this conversation with someone recently about First Fridays in Oakland,
Mm.
and just how amazing that experience and that vibe is.
Right.
We have to we have to bring that back to San Francisco because originally that's a San Francisco
Right.
vibe, right? And then you talk about the fentanyl and the drug crisis that we're facing. Something that I was surprised to see in my time in the supervisor's office was at that time there were only like two abstinence-based treatment programs
Mm.
that were running in the city, which was wild to me,
Yeah.
right? It was so much harm reduction. And I'm not saying that harm reduction is wrong and abstinence is a better way of treatment, but I think that it's important for folks to have options,
Mm.
right? I know some folks that have struggled with addiction, and they went through programs like Walden House,
Mm.
Delancey Street, that
Mm.
gave them an opportunity at workforce and housing
Right.
as part of their recovery journey.
Mm.
So I think it's important to continue to have resources, but we also have to have some accountability for people's action. And then, I'm always going to say housing, housing, housing. So many of us have been displaced.
Mm.
So many of us can no longer afford to live in San Francisco. So, I come from a background of affordable housing, but I think we have to build all types of housing. I think we have to build teacher housing. I think we have to build housing for that fits the income levels of muni drivers,
Mm.
of DPW workers, for nurses,
Yeah.
because oftentimes if if you work, if you and your partner work, or you work and you might make a little money, but you have kids, you might be overqualified for a lot of the low income housing.
Right.
And and so being able to have housing for everybody, I think is really important.
What makes District 11, Lakeview, Ingleside unique from other neighborhoods in the city of San Francisco, in your opinion?
You know, when I think about Lakeview on my Ingleside, I think about Black wealth, right?
Mm.
Um, and I'm gonna bring this full circle. We were one of the places where Black folks own homes, right? Um, and I think that was the gift and the curse
Mm.
for us while many of our families own homes, we still face the same problems that families that lived in Double Rock, that lived in Sunnydale, that lived in different parts of the Mo. All we face those same issues, right? But I think from a city standpoint, they looked and they said, there's no project, there's no large
Right.
projects there. So there's no need for us to dump resources into this community. So we've historically been an under-resourced community. Um, and I talk about how a lot of people either forget or don't know about this part of the city.
Mm.
I know this has probably happened to you at least once in your life. Somebody drove you home or dropped you off and said, "Where is this? Is this Daly City?" Right?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I've never been over here.
Right.
Um, and so, I think that sets us apart is the fact that we don't have that large concentration of, projects or low income housing, but we have folks that are house rich and cash poor,
Now,
right?
say that again.
Like
Say that
we have
again.
folks we have folks that are house rich and cash poor. So we still need the resources.
Right.
We just live in a house,
Right.
right? And I think it's very important to think about that. But from a perspective of someone that's lived here, um, Lakeview OMI has always been a community of people that have been willing to work together to achieve the things that they needed to achieve. And I think that's what makes us great
Mm.
because we have the ability to collaborate, we have the ability to put our heads together and get things done. So um, beyond all those other things, it's home. So that also makes it completely different for me.
Straight up. I think being that Lakeview was the biggest middle class black community in San Francisco for a large portion of the time, I think the environment that it created for families was so unique as far as this California and Bay Area experience. You know what I mean? To go
Mm-hmm.
outside and have a full street full of homes and 90% of those homes be owned by black families. And then to
Mm-hmm.
go out into that community and there be black stores and black and different things that for a community like ours, it just I think we took it for granted. I know I did until I came outside and it didn't look like that. And we became, the smaller percentile. Now it's 10% of us in the
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood, and the neighbors don't look the same. And I think the confidence that gave you, the hard work, just to show you how far you could come if you really pushed yourself, and that it wasn't just you; it was other people that were like minded and wanted the same things. I think that experience was definitely unique for me coming up as a kid. You know what I mean?
100%. And piggybacking on what we said about us at Black Wall Street, I think we're trying to bring some of that back,
There you go.
right?
There you go.
Is we want to restore the sense of pride in our
Mm.
communities, right? We want folks to feel like folks to feel like they belong
Right.
still,
Right.
right? And while our communities have changed, and it's not just Lakeview on my Bayview's changing,
Right.
the Mo is
Right.
changing,
For sure.
everywhere is changing,
Right.
Sunnydale is changing,
Right.
right? Everywhere is changing, but I think it's important for us to remember what the legacy is,
Mm.
right? And hold our heads up high as we continue to live in these communities. And that doesn't mean shun the other people that are coming to
Mm-mm.
our communities, that are doing the work in our communities. It means collaborating, but also holding your own space.
Mm.
So that's part. I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but that's part of the reason that I'm running is because um, I understand what it was like before,
Right.
but I also can I can get with the folks that are here because they're no different than us. They want a community for their family. They want a
Right.
community to be able to thrive, and I think we can thrive alongside each other. It's
Right.
no it's no reason to be at odds.
Right. Speaking of that, talk about the moment when you decided you were going to run for the seat.
Um, I decided earlier this year, and it came after long, deep contemplation.
Hmm.
Like I said, this even up until early this year, I wasn't sure if this was something that I wanted to do. It
Yeah.
wasn't something that even really crossed my mind, but I felt like it was something that needed to be done.
Mm.
I looked around at the landscape and I asked myself a tough question. I said, if not me, then who?
Right.
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 Um, and when you combine my life experience and my work experience,
Hmm.
I don't think that there's anybody better. I've been on the ground, I've worked in City Hall, so and I live here and I'm invested here, right?
Right. Right.
With no plans on leaving. So um, I took that into account when I started this process. And obviously I took it to community. I started asking people, how do you feel? Do you think that I would be a good candidate for this
Hmm.
seat? And to date, I still haven't had anybody tell me no.
Right.
So I'm sure while I'm knocking on some doors, I will finally get someone who's in opposition. But at this moment, um, I feel good about it. I feel like I'm on the right path, and honestly, I'm just ready to do the work.
Speaking of that, last question before I let you go, champ. What would be your first order of business when you win this seat? We winning this. We in this, man. This is what we doing now. You know what I mean? I'm the assistant head to the assistant of the campaign trail from this moment. You know what I mean? It's official. So you know what I mean? I got your back and we doing this. So I just want to know what's gonna be the first order of business when we get there.
And so I see Biscuit in the bottom. She's saying John Avalos' seat, formerly John Avalos' seat, currently Asha Safai's seat. But yeah, District 11 supervisor. And so first order of business. I mean, listen, I've had my ear to the ground. I've been listening to folks trying to make sure I go in with an open heart and open ears to to understand the needs of the community. I also bring my own perspective, but I think the first thing that I do when I get in office is hold a town hall
Mm,
because I want to really nail down the priorities of the community,
okay.
and make sure that anyone that wants access to me and have a conversation with me, they have my contact information. They have the ability to reach me because, like I said, the biggest part, the light bulb that went off for me while I was in the office is people need to be able to contact you. They have to be able to reach you because a lot of people have concerns, but they just don't know where to voice them,
Right.
right?
Right.
Beyond that, I think one of the things that I want to do unique about my office when I win is that I want to make sure I staff my office with people that look like the community that they serve and
Mm,
live in the community that they serve. Um, because I think that goes a long way. When you see that person at the grocery store, or you see them you know, at Beats, or you see them walking up and down your street, you then have an opportunity to connect with them, share your insights, and kind of it takes the whole model of being a person of the people to the next level.
straight up. Straight up. Um,
I know you got some more questions for me. Come on, man.
Come on, how important is collaboration in public service?
Man, I think collaboration is everything. I literally think that you can't make anything work without collaboration,
Mm,
and that's something that I've learned over time. I think as a younger man or a younger guy, I was definitely, I can do this by myself. I can make this work,
right.
right? And um, one of my favorite quotes is "Ego is the root of all pain," right?
Mm, mm,
And when and a lot of times we get caught up in I can do this, I can do this.
right.
You can,
Right.
and it sometimes may look good, but you will burn yourself out. You'll get tired. You'll get frustrated
Right.
when you're not getting the support that you want. So when you collaborate with people, I've learned that you can go a lot further. People buy in.
Mm,
You get an abundance of resources. And so, again, when I talk about how representation matters, the office of the supervisor has to collaborate with community. They have to be able to work with folks on all parts of the community, not just one demographic, not just one ethnicity, not just one nationality,
Right.
not one religion, creed, whatever it is. You have to be able to work with everybody, and you have to be able to bring people together,
Right.
right? When we look at our government at the highest level right now, there's so much division,
Right.
and it's hard to get things done because people can't agree on the simplest of things. Um, and so, one of my biggest things is we'll work on the things where we agree,
Right.
right?
Right.
First, we'll
Right.
work on those things first, and then maybe you and I don't agree on the ban on plastic straws, right?
Right.
But you and I agree that we need to redo these swings and these parks. We need to make sure that the streets are clean. Then we can do those things together, and we can get that done, and we can come back to the straws,
Right.
right? And in terms of collaboration, I'm big on just because we disagree, we don't have to not be friends.
Right. Right. There you go. There you go.
Right?
Right.
We can still work together on a ton of things. So collaboration is everything. I don't think that I'm able to get to where I am without collaboration. And then all the best things come from collaboration. Going back to SF Black Wall Street, we like the Wu-Tang Clan
Yeah.
in a
Straight
lot
up.
of ways.
Yeah.
Everybody can drop a solo album today,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
But
We be
but
stronger
but
together.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
yeah, but tomorrow we could show up and
A
do a
joint
group performance
project.
and blow the yeah and blow the roof off of it.
Right.
So I think there's dozens of organizations throughout District 11,
Hmm.
right? We have Latino organizations, we have AAPI organizations, we have Pacific Islander and Samoan organizations, right? When we collaborate, we're gonna get so much done, and that's a promise coming from me.
Straight like that, man. Well, I see a lot in the future. The district supervisor, that's just the beginning of the scale. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm talking maybe to the future mayor of San Francisco. You know what I mean? They're gonna hear it here first. So when they go back and they rewind it back in the years when we up and you doing your thing, and you know what I'm saying, I get to come speak at the inaugural, you know what I mean, speech, and you be like, this young man right here, my brother said it first. You know what I mean? I'm just glad I got to get on the train early, man, and I just want to tell you I'm proud of you, my brother. You know what I mean?
Likewise.
It don't matter if you win the district or not, man. Just the fact that you take these steps to make sure our community gets what they need, and take your own time and coach these young men, because it's brothers like you when I was a young man that helped me make it this far. That helped me stay out of
Yeah.
trouble. That helped me follow the course. You know what I mean? To just be doing things that I'm doing today, man. So I want you to know that as a community, we appreciate you. As a black man, I appreciate you. As my Lakeview brother, I appreciate you, and I'm proud of you, champ. You know what I mean? I want you to know that.
Hey man, that listen, that's received, and I send you all of that right back at you, man. I appreciate you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, but you know, I'm here because of community,
Right,
right? I'm here, like you said, because somebody took the time to coach me. Somebody took the time to uh, just kind of put their arm around me from
hmm
time to time, because it could have went left a lot of times,
right.
but because of community, I'm here. So yeah, I'm proud of you as well, and I'm just thankful to be able to sit here with you today and have this conversation.
Tell them where they can find you, my brother. Tell them how to support you, and tell them anything you got coming up. Let them know right quick before we go.
Man, so the easiest way to find me right now is ej4sf.com. That's the website. You can sign up and volunteer. You can donate to the campaign there. You could just sign up for the newsletter. If you just want to stay updated, that's the best place. This is obviously my personal Instagram, EJ Slow Down. But if you want to catch me on Instagram, it's EJSF2024 for the official Instagram. And listen, I'm here in community. I'm outside,
Yeah.
and you can find me there too.
Salute to my brother, man. Y'all go check him out. He's running for
Appreciate you.
District 11, man. He's gonna be the next district supervisor in our community, man. We're gonna support him. When you see him out and about, hound him. He said, ask as many questions that you can think of. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When you see him out, and let's try to create a better community. Everybody participate how they can, man. Like I said, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Salute, my brother.
Hey, salute to you. Appreciate you.
Off top.
Off